Good morning. My name is and my pronouns are she, they. In our 7th and 8th grade RE class this year, we explored a variety of topics, but none of them caught our interest quite like climate justice, or rather, climate injustice. What started with watching a 3-minute video in our Earth Day lesson has grown into a 2-month exploration of climate change and the power of youth climate activism. Together, we learned about the 9-year history of Juliana versus United States climate change case, and together experienced the heartbreak of history happening in real time when the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals granted a motion to stay the case on May 1st. Basically, an amazing group of kids has been trying to take the United States government to court and sue them for contributing to climate change, the court system keeps telling them they can't do that for a bunch of really dumb reasons. And we don't like that. So, today, even though the real case has not been able to reach trial, you are about to witness a very abridged version of what such a trial might look like. Brought to you by us, the 7th and 8th grade RE class. Oh, and by the way, you all will be our jury.
Hear ye, hear ye. All rise in body or spirit. The Court of East Shore Unitarian Church is now in session. The Honorable Judge Claire the Older presiding. You may be seated.
Members of the jury, your duty today will be to determine whether the defendant, the United States government, is guilty or not guilty based only on the facts and evidence provided in this case. The plaintiffs, the 21 Juliana youth, must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. Counsel for the plaintiffs may now present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, we are representing Kelsey Juliana and the 20 other youth plaintiffs in this case. We intend to prove that the United States government is guilty of violating the youngest generation's constitutional rights to life, liberty, and property, as well as failing to protect essential public trust resources.
Despite having the authority to limit the use of fossil fuels and their emissions, the U.S. government has continued to authorize and even subsidize their production and usage, even though they've known for over 50 years that CO2 emissions are causing climate change.
Climate change is scary, so when you look at what a single person can help do to slow climate change, it can feel inconsequential.
So, 9 years ago, the 21 youth plaintiffs decided we needed climate action on a national scale. We looked at the U.S. government and saw a lot of people who are more interested in oil money than things like our children's right to life or liberty or not having their homes flooded by unusually strong weather patterns that are becoming less unusual. We are here to argue that the U.S. government's support of oil companies and knowledge of the fact that these same oil companies are destroying our environment violates our fundamental right to a safe environment. We are the generation who will be faced with the consequences of today's climate-related decisions, and we demand that our government be held accountable.
Thank you. The defense may present their opening statement.
Your Honor, members of the jury, the United States government is not responsible for climate change. Sure, we've known for a while that CO2 emissions are causing it and haven't done much about that, but you know, we're working on it. Give us some time. It's not like it's urgent or anything. Anyway, a bunch of kids aren't anywhere as important to us as the fossil fuel lobby. Oops. Did I say that out loud?
Climate change is a problem for someone else, someday far in the future. For now, we're just focused on keeping the lights on and the economy strong and winning the next election.
Thank you. Plaintiffs, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I call to the stand our expert witness, climate scientist, and 8th grader.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or spirit of life, or universe, or other higher power of your choice?
I do.
Please state your name and occupation for the court.
Climate scientist and 8th grader.
Would you say that scientists currently agree on the issue of climate change?
Yes, absolutely. There's an overwhelming consensus among scientists that climate change is real and presents an existential threat to humanity.
And would you say that we know the causes of climate change?
Yes, the main driver of climate change since the 1800s has been human activity, specifically the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas.
Can climate change be solved through individual action like going vegetarian or stopping the use of plastic straws?
No. While individual actions are important, they are not enough. We need systemic change. The majority of fossil fuel emissions are created by industry, not individuals. Government action is needed at this point to regulate the burning of fossil fuels and avoid a climate catastrophe.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions needed.
The defense may cross-examine the witness.
So, isn't it true that the climate has always been changing, and therefore it isn't really a new or urgent problem?
Earth's climate has always been changing, but in the last 40 years or so, I have seen an abnormal increase in extreme warming across the world, beyond anything previously observed. This dramatic increase in global temperatures has massive consequences for the environment and for humans, such as extreme weather, rising sea levels, droughts, and forest fires.
And what proof do you have that fossil fuels are to blame for these changes?
Burning fossil fuels for electricity production, manufacturing, transportation, all release greenhouse gases such as CO2, which are known to trap the sun's heat in our atmosphere. The heat is warming our planet to a dangerous degree, and we are rapidly approaching the point of no return where these effects will be irreversible.
Okay then, no further questions, Your Honor.
The attorneys will now present their final arguments. Plaintiffs, you may begin.
Kids should be able to grow up without fear of climate change and its consequences, facing tornadoes, flash floods, windstorms, and so many more. Our government is doing not nearly enough to help us fix this problem. Why are you in the government if you are killing the very people you vow to protect? You will die of old age while we die of climate change.
We need to take action now to prevent further catastrophic damage to our planet. We've already spent 9 years fighting the U.S. government's efforts to get this case thrown out, and we're running out of time. Members of the jury, we ask that you act now to protect future generations and find the United States government guilty. Thank you.
Defense, you may proceed with your closing argument.
Basically, change is slow, and you have to be patient. We're doing the best we can, and you kids don't understand all the complexities of running a country, okay?
Jury, please find us not guilty, and let us go back to our important work of maintaining the status quo.
And now, since we're kind of short on time, we're going to have the jury take a vote rather than deliberating, okay? Is the jury ready to vote?
Yeah.
Please raise your hand if you find that the defendant, the United States government, is guilty of violating this generation's constitutional rights to life, liberty, and property, as well as failing to protect essential public trust resources. All right, please raise your hand if you find that the defendant is not guilty.
You can't vote.
All right, I think we have a decision, but before court is adjourned, I'd like to remind you that while unfortunately the Court of East Shore Unitarian Church is not part of the federal judiciary, there are things you can do out in the real world to have an impact on the climate future of our youth. Starting today, immediately after the service. What can our congregation do to help?
That's a great question, Claire the Older. If you want to see your opinion reflected in the outcome of this lawsuit and others like it, then you can reach out to your legislators and request their support of the youth climate justice movement. You could also donate to Our Children's Trust, a nonprofit, public interest law firm that provides legal services to youth to secure their legal rights to a safe environment.
And today, right after the service, you will have an opportunity to sign a letter that our class wrote to President Biden and the Department of Justice asking that the Juliana versus the government case is allowed to proceed to a trial much longer than the one you saw today. Please find us outside the sanctuary with clipboards where you could take a couple seconds to sign our letter showing your support of our class and the other young people like us across the country trying to make our voices heard. Thank you.